What is Vedic? Episode 3. Cyclical Time. A good place to begin studying the Vedic ideas is to look at how time is measured. Just as the sun arrives on the horizon every day and sets at the end of the day, the eons of the earth arrive and depart likewise in a cyclical fashion. Imagine a clock face with 24 hours subdivided into 4 sections of 6 hours each, from 0 or midnight to 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and so on. Each section would signify one part of the day. We know that each part of the day is experienced differently. For example, at noon the sky is very bright and warm in temperature. At midnight it is completely dark and cold. Now imagine that this clock instead represents 24,000 years. And each of the 4 sections is a unique age or eon that alters how life on Earth is experienced, just like how the atmosphere feels fundamentally different at noon than at midnight. One revolution around this 24,000-year clock would be called a great year, and according to the Vedas, our universe has gone through dozens and perhaps hundreds of these great years. Each of the great year's 4 ages or sections are called yugas in Sanskrit. The first is the Golden Age, the Satya Yuga, then the Silver Age, the Treta Yuga, the Bronze Age, the Dvapara Yuga, and the Iron Age, the Kali Yuga. Unlike the metaphor of equal sections on the clock, the texts describe the yugas as having half the length of the previous yuga, with the Satya Yuga, Golden Age, being the longest and the Kali Yuga, Iron Age, being the shortest. Each yuga offers unique potentialities for what humans are able to achieve during their lifetimes, varying customs that are emphasized within society, and each yuga is governed by different rulers with their own prescribed functions over human society. The Golden Age is almost completely etheric, highly spiritual, and the beings live extremely long lives. The Silver Age is slightly less spiritual with other unique conditions, and so on until the Iron Age, which is characterized as being spiritually deficient, materialistically driven. The humans are smaller in stature and live much shorter and more difficult lives. According to the Vedas, we are currently in the Kali Yuga Iron Age and entered it several thousand years ago. This is a difficult time period for all beings on Earth, but a person is able to spiritually advance very quickly, whereas in the Satya Yuga Golden Age, it is much more difficult to advance spiritually because it is already a very highly spiritualized time, therefore progress is slower. Demonic entities thrive during the Kali Yuga. Here are some descriptions from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12, Chapter 2, that may sound familiar, which describe the Kali Yuga. In the age of Kali, people's minds will always be agitated. Law and justice will be applied only on the basis of one's power. Womanliness and manliness will be judged according to one's expertise in sex, and a man will be known as a Brahmayana just by wearing a thread. One who is very clever at juggling words will be considered a learned scholar. Cities will be dominated by thieves. The Vedas will be contaminated by speculative interpretations of atheists. Political leaders will virtually consume the citizens, and the so-called priests and intellectuals will be devotees of their bellies and genitals. Despite the mathematical exactitude of the Vedic descriptions of the yugic cycle, there is still great debate about what time it is in this great year. Today, there is no definitive model that can objectively prove to an outside observer what position we are on this great year clock. The scrolls and star maps in the stacks of the Vatican Library would very likely provide us with this critical information, but access is strictly forbidden except for a tiny few approved scholars. It is very important to remember that the time on the sky clock is highly contested because, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Kali Yuga is 432,000 years long, and we still have another 427,000 to go, which, put simply, is a very incredibly daunting prospect. But it is very possible there was an error, or even a deliberate alteration, when transferring this information during the crossover into the Kali Yuga. The article, which is linked below, The End of the Kali Yuga in 2025, Unraveling the Mysteries of the Yuga Cycle, builds a strong argument for the use of the Saptarshi calendar, based on the Ursa Major constellation as the primary marker of the changes in the Yuga cycle. According to this calculation, the Kali Yuga will end in the year 2025, and a transition period of 300 years into the Dwapara Yuga, Bronze Age, will then begin. The essential tool the ancients and modern researchers use is the sky clock, and please see my article on my website, Astrological Ages and Dating the Earth, an introduction, which is also linked below, for an analysis on how the sky is used to measure time and how it relates to the so-called Age of Aquarius. Also keep in mind there are transition periods between ages, and despite the vast disagreement on the exact time of the Great Year Clock, many esoteric scholars suggest we are at the very near end of the Kali Yuga, or are already in this transitioning into a new age. Implications. In general, contemporary Western historians have a great difficulty in perceiving what life was like prior to the Kali Yuga in which we live. Their worldview says that life on Earth was experienced in the very same way 10,000 years ago as it is today. But after reading the Vedic texts, one can clearly see that this is simply not the case. Many modern historians suffer from more than just a lack of imagination. There seems to be a literal veil in front of their mind's eye that prevents them from perceiving profound realizations of historical value if they were able to grasp the above information about the Earth's ages and the unique potentialities within each unique age. According to the Vedas, the past ages were populated by humans with profound abilities based on their level of consciousness, and rife with technologies that today would be deemed magical. Our current civilization circa 2021 is not the most advanced in human history, and this Earth has hosted thousands of advanced societies prior to ours. This simple understanding offers a major leap in consciousness to perceive the level of your true human value and potential. The Vedic material can help open up this door to the true history of our Earth, which is, above all, self-empowering information. Now that we've laid the groundwork of the vast timescales that the Vedas describe, we can discover the library of texts that are giving us this information. See the two links below for more information on this topic of the Yuga cycles. The first is The End of the Kali Yuga in 2025, Unraveling the Mysteries of the Yuga Cycle, and the next is Kali Yuga, The Era of Darkness.